how do you feel about the overall environment of online political discourse?
I think with politics, online politics, people like to kind of cry bully each other a little bit too much for my liking. At some point, there's some like terminal velocity that every online community reaches where everybody is pointing the finger at each other and calling each other groomers. And when you look at those accusations, they tend to fall apart, except unless you're in the Smash community.
How has your upbringing shaped your political views?
My grandfather is a politician in India, so there's always been a little bit of like a politics interest in me. And also, simultaneously, while being raised feminist, there is like the background of being South Asian, coming from like a Muslim background, right? So simultaneously being raised with like traditional values, but also being raised with like, women should be able to advocate for themselves, right? I'm not saying that anybody else has to do what I do. I'm not saying even what I'm doing is the best. It's not super important to me. So.
What about you? Richard Spencer just joined the panel.
I don't necessarily even like all of the jokes that Mr. Girl makes, but am I going to convict him? Am I going to try and get him deplatformed for the jokes he makes? Absolutely not.
But welcome. You look very nice. Your makeup and hair is popping.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind of you to say. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I just got back from not an oil change, but I guess like a car servicing with my partner. And they just needed to get some like engine fluid drained and whatnot. So that was nice. I spent the morning doing that. Essentially, I was worried that I wasn't gonna get back here in time actually and set this up, but somehow we managed to do it.
Well, you did, yeah.
Yeah, we managed to do it. But so I wanted to interview particularly for more or less the same reason that I wanted to interview Primes, that you guys are sort of leading the way in terms of having discussions online and allowing people to speak their opinions and voice their opinions with moderation. So I love that about you guys. Yeah, so first, just a random color question: is the moon landing real?
I think the moon landing is real. Do you think the moon landing is real?
I have no reason to believe it isn't.
Okay.
But if you talk to the right person, they might give you a different answer. And
I think some flat earthers do believe that the moon landing is faked.
Yes. And
That's part of a globalist conspiracy.
They also believe that, some of them also believe that the moon has its own light source, that it's not reflecting light off the sun. I've heard that too.
The earth is round. All the math makes sense around it. It's the moon that's flat.
Sheesh.
So, yeah.
Okay.
I think I like actually. I think so. The moon being flat actually is a fun one, but also I think actually my favorite one that I've ever done was that the moon is fake. That it's a conspiracy created. The moon is fake. It was made by the Chinese government, and that they can turn it off. No, it was not the moon. The moon is fake. The sun is fake. The sun is fake. The global warming isn't real. It's a conspiracy. It's made by the Chinese government. They can turn the sun off whenever they want to.
Oh my God. Well,
yeah.
That's terrifying. I'm sure people would believe that without even thinking about it. Are you more of a beaches or a lake person?
Ooh, that's a hard question.
We only ask the best questions here.
Yeah, that's a really hard one. I think I just would choose the beach because I've been to the beach more, but lakes can be fun too. So.
Absolutely.
I can't swim, so it doesn't make a difference.
Okay. Well, yeah, that'll do it. And then the last color question is, what was your first crush like, if you can remember?
First crush. I was not allowed to date when I was younger. Not until I was in college, and I somehow in my stupid brain took that as you're not allowed to have feelings for anybody. So I always pushed my feelings down whenever I felt them bubbling up.
So even if wow, that person's super hot, it's no, I can't, I mustn't.
Pretty much. I would get all flushed in the face because it was I was filled with teenage hormones, but at the same time I'd be in my head thinking I'd be make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, so. Yeah.
Wow, that's some. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. And then years later, I was telling my mom, because I had my first rejection. It was heartbreaking for me, and she's I never told you couldn't like anybody. I just told you couldn't date anybody. And I was like,
nice. Well, instructions were unclear.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for those. Those are cute. Those are nice little answers. So let's hop right into it. Who are you? What do you do? And where can people find you?
I am Stardust. I am a politics/variety streamer trying to kind of get into the more variety area. And you can find me on Twitch or on YouTube. Twitch.com, not Twitch.com, twitch.tv/Stardust or youtube.com/Stardust streams. So.
What got you into streaming, and particularly political streaming?
Okay, so when I first started streaming, it was several years ago, and I did music streams, and I would play my piano, and I do little song covers and stuff, and I would get like 10 to 20 viewers back then. And then I stopped for a while because back then Twitch was not really super fun for females, and I would get a lot of really weird comments and stuff. And eventually somebody found my Instagram and messaged me and said that one of my pictures gave them a hard on or something like that. And so after that, I took a break from streaming. And then a few years later, I kind of got back into it again. I'd been arguing people back and forth online in like kind of semi-political spaces, and I was streaming on YouTube first for the political content, but then I really started taking off on Twitch more, so I switched over to Twitch, and I stopped communicating with one sect of political people, and then with the Twitch politics scene I started interacting with them more, and so it just started taking off. I wasn't expecting it to be honest. I don't really know. I started going on Prime panels and got invited to other things and ended up being at the right place at the right time. And yeah, it's just a combination of luck and not being too sure of yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, and you're pretty consistent too. You stream how many times a week?
6 days a week.
Wow, yeah. Is that just a schedule you landed on, or is that, you had the time for it and you want to really focus on this, so you're...
I started off part-time streaming, and then as I got more and more of a following and was able to kind of sustain myself more on streaming income, I switched over to being full-time streamer. So now I am a full-time streamer. Yeah.
Who is your favorite political streamer? Or you can name multiple for this if you have a hard time picking one.
Favorite political streamer? I have a few. I think obviously Destiny's up there. I think that Chud Logic also has become a recent favorite of mine. I think there are so many great people in Twitch politics. The only thing is I don't get to watch a whole lot of them. There's Wicked Supreme, there's Prime K's. Prime, I'm forever in debt to, because that dude, it was his panels that really, that was my first intro to Twitch politics, which were his panels.
Same.
Yeah. And Dylan's a great streamer as well. You know what? I should name some smaller streamers that don't have a whole lot of followers yet.
Yeah.
I think Taj Politics. I don't know if you know him, but he is just an amazing guy, great attitude all the time. Him and his friend, it's D&D, I believe. They do politics streams and they go to political events together. They're very small right now, but they're up and coming. I would definitely recommend them. I think you're great, Jamali, as well. And let me think. Shark actually has quite a following nowadays.
Shark?
Yeah, Shark 30, and then Sansol is somebody, and my friend Ginger Rameth, she streams. She's not so much politics, she's more variety, but she's also pretty good. Imperial Orator, Death of Certainty. These are all really great people who I think are up and coming, and of course, can't forget Bossit. Bossit's awesome as well.
Yeah, I've seen a lot. I've seen some Bossit. Guys, all of those names that Stardust just listed, a long list. Make sure you actually go and follow or look at some of their content to see if you like it. A lot of those names I have recognized. I also don't have a lot of time to watch people. But I do know of them.
Jebtan, also. Jebtan's a conservative streamer who's kind of up and coming as well. So
okay, nice.
Not streamer yet, but conservative guy. But yeah.
Okay, sick.
Sorry if that was too long of a list. I just feel like there's so many great people and so many up and coming people too that I really want to see like getting a following. So.
Oh no, of course. The more reputable streamers that I think are known and political, that have an actual like sense of what they're talking about and are not just here to drama farm, is a good thing. So I appreciate that long list of people.
Also, I'm so sorry. One last person I can't forget: the true OG, the only person who does straight up political content all the time. I'm really important.
I was actually
doing the C-SPAN.
I was
always doing it.
I was waiting for that. That's the second time that a couple of those names have been mentioned now. Once again, in comparison to Prime's interview, Destiny was the first person as well. I'm really important was one of Chud Logic. So it's nice to see the consistency in terms of the people who in this community are actually, given the respect that they deserve. That's good. How has your upbringing shaped your political views?
So my upbringing. So my mom has been a lifelong feminist. So she always kind of raised me with feminist values, but and also on my mom's side, my grandfather was a politician in India, so there's always been a little bit of like a politics interest in me. But I mean, also simultaneously, while being raised a feminist, there is like the background of being South Asian, coming from like a Muslim background, right? Being raised a woman in America, right? There are these societal pressures that that you kind of fall under, and you kind of fall into being kind of a people pleaser in some ways. So simultaneously being raised with like traditional values, but also being raised with like, women should be able to advocate for themselves, right? So it was quite the juxtaposition, especially when you look at like the stark difference in cultures of like American culture and like South Asian culture and Muslim culture. And so I think it kind of made me used to talking to people who have significantly different views from me and people who probably don't want the same things for me as I would want. And I think that's part of why I am so willing to talk to people who have different views. If I were unwilling to talk to people who didn't want the best for me, or who didn't view me as an equal, I wouldn't be able to talk to like half the people I talk to, you know? And even in person, like, I was talking about this with my chat, but like, you go to like Muslim functions and stuff, and the men and the women are segregated at these parties, and oftentimes the men will be arguing about politics and whatever, and there's a kitchen, then there's the women's side, and like oftentimes I would just be like kind of like hiding in the kitchen where nobody can see me, listening to the men argue about politics, and then and I would want so badly to just partake in that conversation. One time I did. One time I said something, I peeked out and I said something, and they all stared at me. Nobody said anything. They all just stared at me until I walked away. But yeah, I mean, like, when people tend to get really mad at me about like who I talk to and stuff like that, and I think people don't understand the variety of different beliefs that come with like just immigrant communities and things like that, right? So
wow, good. That was a really good answer. It actually led into the next two questions. So hopefully you don't find yourself repeating yourself too much here. But the next question was going to be, are you first generation? And if so, how has your parents' culture mixed with the American in you?
Right. Yeah. So I always get the generations mixed up, but my parents were immigrants. Yes.
Yeah. If your parents immigrated, you would be first generation. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I am first generation. And I kind of had some of the traditional culture mixed with me, but also I had the juxtaposition of American culture, and my family was never like completely normal. So
by which standards? By like
by
India?
South Asians,
okay.
South Asian standards and by American standards,
okay.
actually. So while I simultaneously had these two cultures clashing, I also kind of stuck out like a sore thumb because my mom and my dad got divorced when I was pretty young because my dad had some issues. He was like he's a crazy guy, and not like the nicest guy. And so
Yeah, sorry to hear that.
that's okay. So in some ways I did have, there this South Asian Muslim culture, but at the same time, I always knew it was different from people. I always knew I was different from majority of the people in that community, and that when it came to topics around my dad, everybody went, quiet. Nobody would bring up things around surrounding my father or anything, because they knew it was kind of like taboo. And even in America, like, I don't think divorce was super normal back then. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It's like a weird place to be, in that, like, I fit in some ways, and then I completely didn't fit in others. So yeah.
Yeah, relatable. I think that's probably. I think you could probably paint that brush over like a lot of streamers, people who are generally just more charismatic, or just have a level of wanting to put themselves out there in front of an audience. Not a very common thing. It's a rare trait that people actually want to come on and like put a face to their voice and then speak their opinions and stuff like that. You get a lot of people who will obviously type their opinions behind a keyboard at you on Twitter, as I'm sure you well know, but will not actually come and confront you in a more personalized manner.
I think you have to be used to, yeah, and I think you have to be used to sticking out like a sore thumb, and in a lot of situations you have to be used to not being the normal one, because people are going to eventually attack you for something. So
yeah.
And that was definitely something I experienced, like, just with my dad being how he was, and honestly, like, he was really just kind of like a crazy guy. He would make scenes whenever we were, out with him, and he was, he's just like not mentally stable at all, and would be in and out of our lives, and just very, very like destructive presence in our life. So it was like, so yeah, it's weird. He was kind of like a secret that I had to like kind of keep, while simultaneously he was never a secret. Like, everybody knew. Like, it's weird. So yeah, but yeah, I think it kind of, you kind of learn to stand out, and stand out despite, or yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
Thank you for that answer. That was nice.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's important to hear differing viewpoints?
I think that majority of the world is bigoted, and majority of the world is racist, majority of the world is transphobic, majority of the world is sexist.
Bold claim. Bold.
Yeah. And I think, why would I keep myself within a bubble? Like, I know what reality is. I know what the world is like. I've been to other countries. I know what life is like for women in other countries. It didn't stop me ever growing up from talking to people, and why would it stop me now?
Nice. Good. Yeah, thank you. All right. And how do you choose who comes on your shows?
So I have a terrible memory. So part of it is me just having a list of names, and I have multiple lists of names, and I will forget about one list, and I'll look at another list, and then I'll forget about that list, and I'll look at another list, or I'll just like look at my Discord sidebar in my Discord and see who's there, and see maybe some of these people I can pull into a panel. But sometimes I'll just put like a tweet out, if I need somebody. Generally, I try to look for people who are in the space somewhat, who have been on panels before, and seem to be able to carry themselves well on panels, and won't freak out too much on a panel, I guess, if stuff goes down. So, because we've got, like, there are certain personalities that are going to freak out, right? And then you, for the most part, you want like a kind of calm crowd, so when you do get that one person who freaks out, it's not like a complete garbage fire. So but yeah, I tend to talk to almost anybody, really. I just I just have to remind myself like who exists and who's on which list. I have to compile my list together. I should stop having so many lists. So yeah.
Yeah, that'll probably help just consolidate those. But hey, it works.
Yeah.
It works, I think.
I try to tailor also the conversations I have on shows around the guests that I have rather than the other way around.
Oh,
so.
okay. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's nice. Rather than just like, okay, here are the topics, and then boom, whoever's on is on, and there are people who have no idea, like they are not related to the topic in any way. But yeah. I mean, I've watched the shows. I think the last one I watched, I can't remember what the topics were, but I think they were talking. I think it was a pedophilia discussion. It was
that may have happened after, like
it was an open panel. Yeah, it was an open panel. You're right. That was very interesting. But the most controversial things tend to pop up on the open panels when anyone can join. How do you find yourself handling those moments? Like, are you more in favor of strict moderation in certain topics, like that discussion, or do you just like let it flow, and as long as no one's being obnoxious or aggressive, too overly aggressive, you won't step in? Or
yeah, generally I try to let it flow. People like that kind of informal feel to it. People like to feel like they're part of like a Discord call, even if they're in the audience. They want to feel kind of like that homey feel, right? So if it's an open panel, I tend to kind of leave it be. If it's more structured, I'll try to moderate it. Like for supernovas, I'll try to moderate it so that people get equal speaking time, but that's as far as I try to go with moderation. So
yeah, okay, thank you for that. All right, the next question is going to be, if you were elected US president, what would be your first order of business?
I would be such a bad president.
Can't say that, you just got elected.
Well, first order of business is probably like look at who is vice president, right? And think about like resigning. Think very heavily about resigning. Probably, maybe I'll write like one executive order and then I'll just resign and give it to the vice president. But
well, now you got to say who your vice president is.
Vice president, Hillary Clinton.
Wow. Okay.
That's
power move, a real
Look,
power
I'm just
move.
saying, if she really killed that many people and got away with it, she's a badass.
That is also interesting. and you said you would sign in an executive order. Do you know what that would be? Like, what would your executive order be? Your one executive order?
It has to be something that, well, maybe two. Something that's ridiculous. It's just going to get everybody really mad. And then, I don't know. So like something like maybe ending the drug war or something, like something that is going to stop jailing people for stupid reasons, right? Like legalize weed, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
That's a good answer. I like it. Picasso. All right. So.
Universal healthcare. Fuck. Why didn't I think of universal healthcare? Forget legalizing weed. Universal healthcare. Universal option.
You said two. You said two. So I mean, you can get those two in. How do you feel about the overall environment of online political discourse?
Depends on which environment you're in, but it seems like there are multiple layers to this. So with online political discourse, there's a lot of people making claims who don't really look into those claims, which is fine. That's like human nature, I guess. I think with politics, online politics, people like to kind of cry bully each other a little bit too much for my liking. I just kind of think, like hold people accountable when they do crappy things, but I think people go looking for insults a little bit too often. Another thing that happens with online communities, regardless of whether they're political or not, is that eventually every online community, for some reason, gets to a point where everybody's accusing everybody of being a pedophile. I don't know what it is. It happened with the online commentary community. It happened with the Smash community. The Smash community actually had like
I think they did have an actual problem.
But I don't know. Everybody's getting accused of being a groomer, at least at some point. There's some like terminal velocity that every online community reaches, where everybody is pointing the finger at each other and calling each other groomers. And when you look at those accusations, they tend to fall apart, except unless you're in the Smash community. But yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know what to do about that. I think that's just really, really strange, very odd. Maybe it's just part of this drama escalation that happens. I'm not really sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You think it might have something to do with the fact that, we're an online presence. This is one of the first times in human history where, adults and kids or teenagers really have the same hobby, which is either video games or maybe talking politics. As younger and younger people are getting more into politics. So there's a mixing of those ages.
Yeah, that's a really good point, honestly. And I make it a point to, like, if somebody's like under a certain, I don't talk to I try to avoid people under the age of like 25, but that's hard, right? But especially if somebody is like under the age of 18, no talking to them at all.
And is that because you're just the stigma of like potentially either a groomer situation or having them in a community where they could fall victim to abuse? Is that why, or is it more just for you personally, just think that, you're just too stupid to be having these conversations?
So I actually get annoyed with people who are under the age of 25.
Valid.
Yeah, but also I curse too much, I feel, and I say controversial things too much, and I just feel like it's not responsible to do that with people under the age of 18. So
okay, yeah, not that they're not already using the same words and language, but yeah, I get that, being a role model, so to speak. Or actively removing yourself from being a role model since you don't think you're that great of what for younger people. Okay. Reasonable. What do you say to those who criticize you for platforming problematic individuals?
I would just say to people that like look at the majority of the world. The majority of the world is bigoted. The majority of the world is judgmental for no good reason, sexist, racist, transphobic, homophobic, everything under the sun. I guarantee majority of the world is like that. So why should I limit who I talk to online when I can like walk next door and probably run into somebody who has all those same beliefs? The only way to really change conversations is to have them, right? If people are only having conversations within their bubbles, like those conversations aren't changing. Mm-hmm. But if you're reaching out to them, if you're going out and having conversations, maybe I'm not changing minds, but I'm at least changing the temperature at which people are talking about certain things, right? So that's all I can hope for.
Yeah, so you believe the possibility for discourse is enough to at least do something, eke the dial in a better direction than just not having the conversation at all.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, and do you think that there's obviously there's a big difference between how the mainstream or just the public in general, not terminally online, views either just news and media from actual news sites and stuff versus online political stuff. Do you think there's a way to change that view so that the online political discourse is more respected by the general population of people?
I think it just takes time. I think it's a new form of media. Mm-hmm. Things aren't as checked as diligently. And part of the reason why people go to big news organizations is because you can kind of, for the most part, people check things pretty diligently there. They have like whole teams of people. I think when people start to understand that you can't expect the same amount of diligence from online commentators, and start treating us like more like opinion speakers, I think that'll be probably when we become more legitimate. But yeah, we're just a new type of media right now. So
yeah. So what you're saying essentially is that there's not enough money in the area to actually have teams of people to.
I think there can be, but I just think that I think people need to view us as opinion pieces, right? Like opinion, like blogs more than they view us as news sources. And I think that's how we would be more legitimate. I think just because we're a new type of media, it's just alternative new media right now. We're probably not going to be a huge hit with the older crowds yet, but I think with younger people, yeah, definitely younger people are going to be growing up and listening to some of us, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah. And do you think that the way the current discussions are being held, do you think that is a good influence on the young people who are watching?
It depends. I think I really do like some of the people in Twitch politics sphere. I think Prime is really great. I think Wicked Supreme is somebody who really makes sure to be diligent about the information he is processing and putting out there. So I think as long as people are learning to be diligent and learning to be open-minded with the information that they have, I think it can be good. I think looking for differences, looking for reasons to ostracize somebody is going to be bad. That's what I worry about when there are young people watching content creators who look for reasons to ostracize people and assume the worst out of people. Because when you ostracize one person, you're like essentially taking away their support, you know, financially, emotionally, everything.
Yeah. And on that vein, how do you feel about cancel culture?
I mean, so I understand the utility of it, and I think it can be useful. I just think that we need to be careful with it. I think we need to still offer people support, emotional and emotional support, and a community. And just being so quick to immediately ostracize people. I mean, there's stories of there's like this sex worker who ended up committing suicide because she made a comment about who she was willing to sleep with when it came to her porn scenes because of a bad experience she had previously. I
believe that was August Ames. I think
I don't know her name. All of the internet ended up jumping on her. And instead of offering her support or offering a conversation to her, it ended up just being everybody jumping on her, criticizing her, ostracizing her, and then she ended up committing suicide. And so I think people need to maybe like think, about these things in multiple ways, right? Like obviously, I'm not saying that we shouldn't call out bad things when people say bad things or perpetuate bad ideas, but we need to be able to offer support to people who are already marginalized as well, and she was somebody who was already marginalized.
Okay. So. Yeah, good. Thank you for that. Do you think that has to do with anonymity on the internet?
Possibly, but I think also people just kind of have a boner for justice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was pretty much it. That was all the questions. I did have one question from your Discord. I didn't check yet, and I can't really do it right now because the overlay would be messed up, so I'm not even going to. But why do you hate pumpkin spice lattes?
I just don't like the taste of it. I don't know that I hate it. I just, I hate it. I just don't like the taste of it.
The back pedal and then the double down. I love it.
I just don't like the taste of it. It's just, I don't know what it is. It just tastes.
It's not a seasonal thing. What's your favorite season?
Well, I mean, I like seasonal flavored things. I like salted caramel. Like that's pretty good. But yeah, pumpkin spice. I just don't get it. Like pumpkin doesn't even taste good.
Wait, you don't like pumpkin pie?
Mm-mm.
Wow. Okay. All right. Well, I was liking you at the beginning. No, I'm kidding. I'm not even that big of a pumpkin pie stan. Don't worry about it. And thank you.
Yeah, of course. Okay. Well, I'll see you later then. Have a great one.
Thank you for the interview.
I think you're an excellent interviewer, by the way. I've been interviewed by a lot of people, and it's not fun. Aww. It's not fun with most people. It was fun with you. So.
Well, yeah. I try not to make it super serious. It's just I'm trying to let people get a chance to know who you are outside of the work that you do.
Legendary. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Have a great one. Have an excellent. What is it? Tuesday. Have an excellent Tuesday.
I still have more errands to run, so I will definitely try my best. But thank you for coming.
See you later.
See you later.
Bye.
Hey, hi, hello. Please like and subscribe to the video if you will. If you did actually enjoy this content, more of it will be coming. And if you want to go ahead and join the community, Discord link will be down below. Thank you again, and I appreciate you. Stay beautiful.